Welcome to part one of our series of financial advice for medical doctors in their first year and medical students in their final year, leading up to first year. My name is NETT WORTH and I'm a director and wealth manager at Bovest Wealth Management. Right, so let's get into our part one, and that is looking at the 3 mistakes I see a lot of people in general make, but specifically doctors as well. So 3 mistakes that you should avoid. We're going to go through them, and these are the mistakes you should avoid going forward, not just in your first year, but throughout your life, throughout your financial journey. These are the mistakes you should avoid. Right, so the very first mistake people do is they look at income. You can see, well, my handwriting is not great, but doctors don't mind that. They look at the income and not their net worth. So the biggest mistake, first biggest mistake people make is they look at the income and not the net worth. Right, what does that mean? Okay, so your income is what you get monthly. It's your salary you receive monthly. Right, so for first year doctors, this year there was about 55,000 gross income. Next year, let's say 60,000 gross income. That income will go gradually as you get older, or hopefully it should. And then people take that as a measurement that they are getting richer, they're getting wealthier. But if you earn 60,000 and you spend 60,000, in effect, you're going nowhere. You're not building wealth. You're just living from month to month. And I see that with a lot of so-called rich people. They have a high income, but the cost of living are so high that the net effect, and we've seen it now in Corona time, that the net effect is they don't build wealth. The money doesn't work for them, and they live from month to month. So if the income is taken away, they're in deep trouble. So what you need to do, what you must do, is you look at your net worth. So your net worth, I'm not going to get too technical here, but it is your assets minus, your net worth equals assets minus liabilities. Right, so what is an asset? An asset is anything that you can sell for money. Property, shares, investing in the market. We're going to do investing in, I think, a 4th episode. So then we're going to talk more in depth about asset and liability. So don't worry too much now. And also in the next episode, we're going to talk about setting up a budget. Then you'll have a clearer idea. But it's important for you to grasp this concept right now, is looking at your net worth. So assets, anything that can be sold for a certain amount of money. And your liabilities is everything that you owe to someone. So owing on your car, owing on your student loans. A lot of you will have student loans out of university. Owing your parents, credit card debt, clothing account debt. There's a lot of anything that you owe someone that if you lose your income now that you won't be able to repay. Right. So most of you at this stage won't have any assets, or if you're lucky, you may have some assets, but most of you say will have 0 assets. Let's look at an example. And you might have student loan debt of, say, 100,000. Let's take more or less 100,000. So currently, what is your net worth? Your net worth is currently minus 100K. Right. So when you're young, that's perfectly fine. It will either be 0 or close to 0 or even negative. That's fine. It doesn't matter where you are now. But what matters is what are you working on? You want to improve this. So next year, I sit every year with my clients. Next year, when I sit with my client, we look at the net worth. We don't look at the income. I don't really care about the income. That's up to the clients. But if we're not working on their net worth, then we're not really going somewhere. All right. So we will look at the net worth. So one strategy, for example, we might work on is paying off that student loan. Before we start with investing, building up the assets, let's pay off the student loan. So a tactic might be to every month pay off 10,000 Rand in your student loan. So in 10 months' time, that will be 0. And let's start building an asset. Let's start investing, say, 5,000 Rand per month. So on this side, you're building 5,000 Rand per month for the next 10 months. So your picture next year, if you did that, so let's say you pay off 10,000 Rand a year and you invest 5,000 Rand a year. So then your assets will be 12 times 5, that's 60K. And your liabilities will then be 0. So next year when we look at your net worth, then you will be positive 60. So now we're moving somewhere. Now we can really start building wealth and let your money work for you. Don't want to get into too much detail now. Very important now just to note, look at your net worth and not your income. And that is the single biggest mistake people make at the beginning. Right, so what is the second, I'm just going to write in a different color. What is the second biggest mistake I see people make? Is about goal setting. They don't set goals. They don't set goals, and that's financial goals. You should have goals in general in life. Are you going to specialize one day? What kind of car you want to drive? So that's specific financial goals. But the biggest mistake people make is either they don't set goals, so they don't know where they're going financially, or they look at society now with Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever crazy is right now. They look at that and then they see, hey, I want to drive a BMW next year. But you just want to drive a BMW because that's what society said you should be driving. But you don't really care about cars. So that's the main thing. People don't have clear goals. They don't know what they want. So they just spend their money on things that either society say we were spending on, or they have no goals and then they don't really know what they're spending on their money on. So it's very clear to have goals. Goals, short term, medium and long-term goals. And this is very important because when it comes to investing, when we'll talk about investing a bit later, this is very important to know what your individual goals will be. This will be very different from your colleague, from your classmate. This will look very different for each of them. So this is where you need to incorporate goals in your financial plan. So what's a short-term goal? A short-term goal might be to pay off debt, go on a holiday once we can travel again. You want to travel. A lot of you want to travel. You want to furnish your apartment next year. So for each person that will look, and maybe someone wants to drive a BMW, and that's perfectly fine. You just should then know that you're going to have to sacrifice something else in order to drive that BMW. But certain people are passionate about cars. That's perfectly fine as well. Medium-term goals can be to, in 5 years' time, I want to invest 2 million. My net worth should be 2 million. Or I want to buy my parents a house. Or I want to buy a property. Or, you know, that's more your 3 to 5 year goals. So short-term goals will be anything from 1 month to 2 years. Medium-term will be from 3 to 5 years. And then longer-term goals will be like, say, for retirement, you want to have enough. You want to save up, another medium-term goals. You want to specialize in 5 years, 3 years time, and you want to save enough money to be able to go and do that. Long-term plan, well, you want to be retired one day, or you want to be able to retire at 45, then to have financial freedom to do what you want. It's not to say that you're not going to work from 45, but to be able to have that financial freedom, to have enough assets to produce an income for you. That might be a good goal to have as well. Right. Ooh, and then just look at my handwriting there. And then the third biggest mistake I see people make is they postpone. Procrastinate. They don't do anything now. They say, well, Gio, I hear you. This all is good and well. Let me just enjoy my first 3 months salary and spend it. You know, and what we've seen is people that people postpone taking control of their finances, they never get into that habit. They keep on kicking the can down the road. I'll start paying off my debt next year. Or once I earn 70,000, then I'll start paying off my debt. Or when I earn 1,000, or when I specialize, then I would start about investing. You know, when. So they postpone it, kick the can down the road. They don't want to face it right now. And then we see people, suddenly they're 40, they're 50, they're 60, and they still postponing it. And then they wake up all of a sudden and say they're in real trouble. And I think Corona and COVID-19 has made a big difference in people realizing that. So that's the third biggest mistake, is people don't want to look at finances. They find it either boring. Hopefully you didn't find it boring. Find it boring, they find it overwhelming, complicated, and that's fine at the beginning. That's what people like us are here. If I go to the doctor, I'm very overwhelmed. Most of the times I don't know what he's talking about, but I trust him to know what he's talking about to get me better. And I think that is what we see. The successful people, they work with someone and they take action, whereas financially unsuccessful people, they postpone it. All right, so for now, not going too much detail, I want you to look at, just to realize these three mistakes and to make sure you don't make them. So firstly, they look at the income and not their net worth. Big mistake. Secondly, they don't set goals, or they set the wrong goals. And then thirdly is they postpone, they procrastinate, and they don't take action. That's the biggest mistakes I see people make. And if you can overcome these mistakes, you're already doing a lot for your finances. Right, so that's it for part 1 or episode 1. Next episode, we're going to look at setting up a budget. And so we're going to look at setting up a budget, and not to overcomplicate it, but to make it real and simplistic and something that you can actually keep to and not just keep it somewhere there. All right, see you then. And please remember, ask questions. Send us a WhatsApp, send me a voice note, send me an email regarding this, and we can chat about that. All right, thank you.